Good afternoon, everybody. This is Ian Trevethan. I am the Education and Outreach Coordinator at the Sternberg Museum of Natural History. It's funny how my title changes every day, every time I have to say my title, because I don't really know what my job title is. I'm the guy that does education at the Sternberg Museum. And I am here today. Again, I'm outdoors because I didn't want to be indoors. Today started out a little rough. There was a lot of thunder and it was raining. So we didn't do much for a morning live feed. I was planning on trying to hit the Fort Hayes limestone, but that's okay. It got a little bit better this afternoon for us. So where I'm at today is I'm visiting the Dakota Sandstone, which is just east of where I live in Russell. So just to give you an idea of where I'm at, I am at Wilson Lake Reservoir. So very lovely surrounding. I can think of worse places to be at work. So I came here because I know that this is a good outcropping of where you would find the Dakota Sandstone. So if you look over here, I've got some good. It's a little bit weathered, but it's a good example of what sandstone is and what it looks like. And this is a little bit older in the story of the Western Interior Seaway, which is the shallow-ish, I guess relatively, ocean that stood over Kansas in the Cretaceous, the late Cretaceous. So what this is this actually represents sort of an earlier stage of the seaway. So if you imagine that when the seaway was forming over 100 million years ago, about 120, 130 million years ago, it formed actually with two arms, one arm coming from the north and another arm coming up from the south. And they connected briefly and then pulled apart. And it's during this time that you start to see the sediment that becomes the Dakota Sandstone sort of being laid down. As those two arms begin to connect together, again, I can't hold my phone and show you at the same time, but as these two arms go back together, they sort of form a continuous seaway. But just prior to that point, you have a very sandy deltaic area. So what this represents in terms of where we are in the seaway is this represents sort of a shallow marine environment. So this is much nearer shore. So if you imagine sort of a deltaic environment with a lot of streams and rivers sort of moving sediment into the seaway that is forming, this is where all of this comes from. That's what this action is. So what you see here are actually some pretty good sedimentary structures. And it's sort of, here's a better, see, I don't know if you can see that outcrop. Let's see here. I should step away from this so you can get a better idea. But the interesting thing about this is there's often seams of mudstone or clay within the different layers of sandstone here. So that again gives you sort of an idea of these sort of mini cycles within a larger, in this case, this is a larger transgression period. So actually the seaway was just starting to form. It was starting to become deep. And actually this is actually overlaid or capped by the Granero Shale, which actually represents a little bit deeper marine environment. So we will try to sort of take a walk and see if we can find some better outcrops. I'll try to sort of not fall on my face while I'm down here. So the Dakota Sandstone is really well known for its leaf fossils. In fact, Charles Sternberg discovered some of the sites that some of the earliest and best leaf fossils came out of. And that's because this is a really, really good environment for the preservation of leaves. So if you imagine sort of standing water with a lot of sediment input, leaves get covered up really quickly. So here we go. This was probably underwater last year, but this is another good example of outcropping of the sandstone unit here. So what else comes out of this is we've actually gotten some pretty good vertebrate material from the Dakota Sandstone. It's very, very rare when it happens, but occasionally a dinosaur has been found in this rock unit. And just to sort of give you an idea, this is really cool. You have to, I don't think my phone does it justice. So what this represents is a lot of sand coming from shore and just sort of settling out as the water is rushing into that forming seaway. So as I said, very, very rarely occasional dinosaur fossils have been found in this formation. So I know Silvasaurus comes from the Dakota Formation. Silvasaurus is an ankylosaur-like dinosaur. So this chunk of rock extends from, I think, as far north as Nebraska and as far west as Colorado. So I know there are parts of Dinosaur Ridge, Colorado, that have Dakota Sandstone exposures out there. So this is a pretty extensive chunk of rock. I don't know if you can see, I don't know if I can, oh yeah, look at that, I can focus in. So there's some a really good outcrop, excuse my shaky photograph work. So I don't know if I'll be able to find any fossils here because this probably is not the best preservation. Oh, hi, there's me again. Awesome camera work today, Ian. So I should have probably started here yesterday, but my choice to talk about the geology of the area was so spur of the moment that I didn't really plan for it. So I should really kind of start here because this is, to me, really the beginning of the story of the interior seaway, at least in regards to Western Kansas, which those of you who are not local, who might be viewing, the Sternberg Museum is located in Hays, Kansas, which is in Western Kansas. So we tend to focus on the Great Plains and our area. So if it seems like I'm being unfair and not talking about similar geology in other regions, that's because I'm focusing on the region we're in. So nothing personal. It's just that happens to be where we are, and we're kind of interested in what surrounds us. So this is really, to me, where the story of the interior seaway in Western Kansas kind of begins. So this is sort of the earliest of the marine sediments, I guess. And this would be sort of your shallow marine. And this represents really the eastern margin or shore of the seaway as it was forming. So this is probably not the best exposures out here, but it was what I could get to in the time that I had. I know one of our emeritus botany curators, Dr. Joseph Thomason, has done a lot of work out here, and he knows where the good stuff is. But like I said, this was sort of a spur of the moment decision to come out and check out geology. So I didn't have time to consult him, but one of these days I will do that, and maybe we will look at something that might bear some fossils. But again, this was all underwater last year. We had a very rainy summer last year, and the water levels rose a lot last year. So a lot of this stuff, you can see, you got some incrustations here This was all underwater last year, so it's interesting to see what has eroded and what is a little more resistant to the water. I just heard a fish jump out there. So, again, lots of this red, sort of orange-like sandstone out here. What that is it's oxidation, or I can't even say anything anymore. It's oxidization of iron, and that gives you sort of that sort of reddish color. Here's some good sedimentary structures up here. So again, really nice rock. And if anybody's asking questions, and I'm not answering, it's because I can't see, because it's so bright out here. My screen tends to black out, and my glasses get so dark because of the sun, because they tint automatically. So I can't see what's being said to me. So if I'm ignoring you, it's not on purpose. So again, you can see some nice sort of sedimentary structures here. That would be sort of a indication of water flow. So this would be all water that would have been, or all sand that would have been distributed by water running out to the seaway. So if you imagine what the Mississippi Delta looks like today, with lots of braided streams kind of running out towards the Gulf there, that's what this kind of would have been like. So it would have been a good place for all sorts of creatures to hang out and make a living. So this is right around Wilson Lake, which is where I know for sure there's the lake. And I was driving around trying to find the best outcrops, and unfortunately I landed myself on the wrong side of this little lagoon here, because I'd really like to get over there and look at those outcrops, because I think there's some really cool stuff over there. But I don't want to swim. Nobody wants to see me swim. So here we are. So again, this is a good example of when people ask me, why have I come to Kansas? Why did I stay here? This is why. This place is beautiful. So there we are. All right. So I am going to try to get up to, there was a picnic area where there's some shade, so I can see if anybody has asked any questions or has anything to ask. Wow, I walked a lot further than I thought I did. So just a good day. We actually, like I said earlier, we had some rain, so I lucked out, and the clouds went, I think they went south and sort of east of us and took the rain with them. So I wasn't sure I was going to be able to come out here and do much of anything. So just for those who don't know what Wilson Lake is about, Wilson Lake is a man-made reservoir. I think it was probably built in the 40s or 50s, maybe earlier. So this is originally was probably a lot of farmland, and then they decided to dam up rivers and turn it into a big reservoir. So that's the story behind Wilson Lake. But luckily for us, there's lots of sandstone outcropping here. So as I've said, Dakota Sandstone is really important to the Sternberg legacy, because Charles Sternberg was, like I said, one of the first to discover plant fossils in this part of Kansas. And he found leaf fossils that were sort of encased in the layers of sandstone, and he was able to sort of crack them open like a book and you would find really nicely preserved leaves. All right, so let me turn around here. Man, this is sad. This just goes to show how out of shape I've gotten. I'm winded just from walking that little bit. Yay for being at home and not doing anything. So if there are any questions, I'd be glad to try to answer them. Rachel, I didn't fall. So, anyways, wow, there are a lot of people watching right now. So any questions for me at all as far as interior seaway dynamics or anything about sandstone or how it gets laid down or anything? Otherwise, I will sign off, and if the weather permits tomorrow, I will go in search of more rock along the roadside and highways and state parks of Kansas and see if we can't so tell us about those, whatever it was. Deb, you got to speak English here. I don't know what that meant. Tell us about the Silvasaurus. Is that what you're asking for? So yeah, the Silvasaurus is a dinosaur that is related to it's a little armored dinosaur that's related to an Ankylosaurus. So it's just sort of these little armored dinosaurs. Ankylosaur has a club tail, and it's pretty popular with kids. I don't know if Silvasaurus had a club tail or not. There's also a Niobrarosaurus, which is actually found further west of here, I think in Gove County, that we think might have come from the western margin of the seashore. And we know for sure it didn't have a club tail. I talked about Niobrarosaurus. I think it was one of my first live feeds that I did when all of this started to come down. So, yeah, so those are, I guess, western interior type dinosaurs that would have hung out close to the shore. They would have been sort of, I don't know if we call that marine highlands or something. I don't know what you call that. I guess that's not quite right. But, they were beach dwellers, apparently. And that makes sense if you think about how all of this system is working. There's lots and lots of freshwater streams, so it's a good water supply. And there's lots of vegetation growing. So how large? Maybe, I can't think of anything to compare it to. Like larger than a sheep, but in dinosaur terms, it wasn't a huge dinosaur. So it would have been sort of squat to the ground. Maybe Galapagos tortoise or something would be a good thing to compare it to that's alive today. I mean, they were big and they were probably very strong, and they didn't probably have a lot of natural predators, so they didn't have to worry about that. So Canopolis is older, you're right. So Betty is saying that Wilson was created in 1961 and Canopolis is older. And actually Canopolis is where I really should have gone to try to find some nice outcrops of Dakota Sandstone. Because that's sort of where I first introduced it when I was talking about the life of Charles Sternberg. But I don't want to take the chance of trespassing on private property and getting in trouble. So here I knew that there were outcrops that I could access without getting in trouble. So it's a beautiful day out here, Michelle. Lots of birds. Life is coming back for the spring, and there's lots of green out here. All right, I'm just going to go through and. So Chase is saying he was that Silvasaurus and Niobrarosaurus would have been cow-sized. I don't know. I don't know that they would have been as tall as a cow, but maybe. I've actually never stood next to a reassembled, articulated ankylosaur or nodosaur skeleton to know how tall it is. I've only seen them disarticulated, which means they weren't really put together. So I will go with Chase's estimate of cowish size. So if there are no more questions, I'm going to say goodbye for the afternoon, and I will try to, I'm not sure what's going to happen in the morning. We might do some stuff with animals in the morning if our naturalist is available. If not, I'll talk to Reese and see, maybe we'll do, look at some Hayes, Fort Hayes limestone tomorrow in the morning. Again, you know, we'll take it as it comes. So, wow, Michelle says she's under extreme heat warnings in Arizona already. And no open green spaces. I'm sorry. That's no fun. Bye. We'll see you later, everybody. Like I say, always, please like and share our live feeds. Feel free to leave comments even after we are done being live. We like to see them, and we will see you soon. Have a good day.